Alright, fellow hunters, time for the second episode of the day, which is What Is and What Should Never Be. First shot is of the Impala's license plates, changed from the Kansas KAZ2i5 to Ohio CNK80Q3. Dean is driving, on the phone with Sam, who is back at their motel room. Sam peers out through the motel curtains nervously, telling Dean that there's a cop car out front. Dean reassures Sam that there's nothing to worry about since they ditched Impala's license plates and all the credit cards. Sam's not so sure of the life of a fugitive is what he had in mind, but shifts to the current hunt, asking Dean if he's found anything. Dean scoffs, saying that Sam has him sifting through 50 miles of real estate. Sam wanders back to a large stack of books and tells Dean that he's figured out that they're hunting a djinn. Dean's right grin echoes through his voice, and as he asks him if he's the freaking genie that if he thinks the freaking genie can actually grant wishes. Sam goes to the Quran. While Sam goes to the Quran, Dean muses about Genie, as in a dream of Genie, being harder than Samantha from Bewitched. Trying to keep Dean focused, Sam tells him that djinns usually flare up in ruins, the bigger the better. Dean remembers the likely places a few miles back, and ignoring Sam's request to pick him up first, he hangs up, a suddenly serious expression on his face. Dean is walking through what looks like an abandoned warehouse. He has a flashlight in one hand and blood-tipped knife in the other. Carefully moving through the damp, empty corridors, Dean slowly shifts his grip on the knife, then turns silently as if he heard someone or something behind him. Nothing. As he continues to walk through the warehouse, we see the figure of the djinn hiding in the shadows. Getting the jump on Dean, the djinn slams him against the wall, one down his throat, causing him to drop the knife. As Dean struggles against the djinn's grip, the djinn raises its free hand, electric blue light bouncing and crackling along its palm and fingers. It presses his hand on Dean's forehead. Dean gasps, his eyes roll up, and the screen goes black. From hell came his flickering in black and white awfulness on a TV next to a rumpled bed. Dean suddenly sits up, shirtless and confused, without a shock at the scantily clad, naked, dark-haired woman sleeping next to him. He stumbles out fully dressed into a comfortable-looking living room, digs out his cell phone and calls his brother. Sam is surprised to hear from him. Dean misses that in his confused state and tells Sam that he doesn't know where he is. The djinn attacked him. Sam must have been drinking, and Dean, frustrated, reminds him of the hunt. Says it put its hands on him when he woke up next to some hot chick. Sam asks if he means Carmen, and Dean is appropriately baffled. Sam tells Dean it's late. Go back to sleep. We'll see him in the morning. Hangs up on Dean's spluttering. Setting the phone down, Sam returns to the books he's been poring over and was brother called Criminal Law and Procedure. Not thoroughly confused and more than a little freaked out, Dean begins to recon the room. He sees a stack of mail on a nearby table and with a muttered, "What the hell?" says they are addressed to both this Carmen that Sam mentioned as well as himself, with the Lawrence, Kansas addressed. Just then, Carmen emerges from the bedroom, sleepy and wondering why he's up. Dean makes some excuse to promise her to join her in a minute. She buys it, kisses him, and returns to the bedroom. Dean begins to look around the living room at all the pictures of the two of them together. Glancing across the room, he sees another picture and a look of horrified disbelief crosses his face. He crosses the room, picks up and examines the picture, drops it, and tears out of the room. The Apollo rumbles to a stop, even it sounds distressed, in front of a familiar house, and Dean runs up to the door and rings the bell. The door opens and Mary Winchester is standing there looking sleepy and wrapping a robe around herself. Dean's face is a display of shock, hurt, and hope. He says, "Mom?" She asks him if he's okay. Very honest, "I don't know." He allows Mary to pull him inside. She walks into the living room, saying that Carmen called, worried because he had just run out of the house. Dean, being Dean, asks someone to prove who she is, who he hopes she is by asking what she told him before she put him to bed when he was a kid. With a small smile, Mary replies that she told him angels are watching over him, passing the test. Dean gathers her up in a hug and almost gleefully roams the room looking at the pictures. He discovers not only had John once belonged to a softball team, that he died in his sleep of a stroke earlier that year. Aww. His mother thinks he's been drinking and says she's going to call Carmen to get him. Dean assures her that he's sober as a judge and says he just wants to stay there. He sits on the couch and, as Mary touches his cheek and kisses his forehead, his face relaxes for the first time since dead man's blood. He sleeps on the couch, waking up the next morning with a start. The first thing on his mind is Sam. calling him, he reaches his cell phone. Sam's trusty geek boy sidekick, Dean heads to the University of Kansas and manages to talk his way into the anthropology professor's office to gather more clues on the djinn. When he asks the professor if the djinn can really grant wishes, the professor assumes he's been drinking. Ruefully, Dean confesses that everyone has been asking him that, but the answer is no. Finding out that mythology states the djinn could grant wishes, and wondering what, if that is true, is in it for the djinn, Dean heads back out to a rainy campus street. When he looks to the Impala's trunk, which is empty except for a few trivial bits and pieces, and murmurs up bemused, "Who would have thought it, baby? We're civilians. But for sure the truck and catching sight of a decidedly out of place young girl in a white dress. He starts across and nearly gets creamed by a red car, breaking his focus on the girl. When he looks back up, she's gone. Dean's happily inhaling what he declares to be the best sandwich ever, one assumes, because it's made by his mom, and talking to Mary, who, for her part, is wondering why he wasn't at work, at the garage. Coughing easily, Dean says he had the day off, and getting up to look out of the window, offers to mow the lawn. More than amused by his son's apparently reasons to hang around her house and do chores, Mary teases dissecting if he has to mow the lawn a day in his life, which he hasn't. Obviously unsure as to the proper handling of steering a lawnmower, Dean is undeterred as he treks back and forth in front of the yard gnome, waving to the neighbors and nearly whistling with actual genuine happiness as Jerry Moon's wonderful world accompanies him. While manicured, Dean sits on the front step relaxing with the beer when Sam and Jess pull up. He's happy to see them, Jess in particular as she is alive as well. He practically runs up to greet them. He wraps Jessica in a fierce hug until she gasps that she can't breathe. Dean is overjoyed to see Sam, and to see Sam with Jess. Sam speculates aloud that Dean's been drinking, and this time it's hard to deny as he has beer in hand. And Dean is puzzled by Sam's apparent standoffishness. He wonders why they're there. And Sam has obvious exasperation born of several years of dealing with the wayward brother of Dean's forgotten mom's birthday. Again. The family is gussied and gathered to celebrate Mary's birthday. During sort of Carmen proves how very well she knows Dean when she leans over and asks him if he wants to go for cheeseburgers later as he stares in horror at a dinner that is better dressed than he is. "Oh God, yes," he replies, and she smiles. Mary's birthday joys make a plate as Sam and Jessica announce that they are engaged. Everyone congratulates them, and Dean smiles genuine as he tells Sam he's really glad he's happy. The joys are left, however, when he catches sight of the girl that he's seen on campus. He pushes past Sam and crosses the restaurant. By the time he gets to her, she's gone. He's left his whole family staring at him confusedly. The group returns home. Mary goes to bed and suggests that he and Jessica do the same thing. Dean wants to go to celebrate more, and Sam excuses him from the ladies, pulling Dean aside and revealing what had been obvious to everyone but Dean up to this point. The brothers don't get along. Not only that, they aren't close. Sam knows that Dean not only once stole his ATM card, he stole his girlfriend and slept with her on prom night. Sam's not mad about it anymore, and doesn't expect Dean to change. He just doesn't really want to have anything to do with his brother. Sam's gone before he can see the heartbroken look that flashes across Dean's face. Dean has the comfy clothes, flannel shirt and jeans. Carmen brings favorite brand of beer, El Sol, and confides in her that he is upset that he and Sam don't get along. Carmen says that they just don't know each other is all. Dean replies that he feels he's been given a second chance, and he's not going to waste it. He's going to fix this thing with Sammy. What about Carmen's concern, care, and the fact that she knows him so well? Dean falls into a very, very easy, very comfortable, very hot kiss. Carmen pulls away to her bed, saying that he can't do that to her. She has to go to work. She appears shortly afterwards in scrubs. So impressed himself that he is respectful enough to Dean and nurse, Dean begs her to slouches back on the couch to veg for the night. A report about the anniversary of the crash of United Britannia Flight 424 comes on the news. Save her in shock, Dean mutters, "We stopped that crash." The realization draws him to the computer where he discovers to his increasing horror that everyone he, Sam, and John had saved from evil had died. All of them. Glancing up coolly from the devastating information facing him from the computer screen, Dean sees the girl in white out of the corner of his eyes and jumps up to follow her. He ends up back in his bedroom where he is very shaken by the sight of two decaying, emaciated skeletons hanging by their wrists in his closet. He sees the girl once more before both she and the skeletons vanish, leaving Dean trembling. Dean stands staring down at his father's tombstone. He's working to keep the tears at bay, but too much has happened. So working convulsively, he begins speaking. All of them. Everyone that you saved, everyone Sam and I saved, they're all dead. And there's this woman that's haunting me. I don't know why. I don't know what the connection is. Not yet anyway. It's like my whole life is coming after me or something. Like it doesn't want me to be happy. Of course I know what you'd say. Well, not that. Well, not the other that plays softball, but you say, go on the gin. It put you here. It could put you back. Your happiness are all those people's lives. No contest, right? But why? Why is it my job to save these people? Why do I have to be some kind of hero? What about us, huh? What? Mom's not supposed to live her life? Sammy's not supposed to get married? Why do I have to sacrifice everything, Dad? Then her crashes. Yeah. Wiping the tears from his face, Dean swallows, nods, and turns to walk out of the cemetery. John might have been alive, but he directed his son all the same. Sam wakes in the dark next to Jessica, tensing at a sound. Grabbing a bat, he creeps down the stairs and confronts the crouching figure over Mary's china cabinet. The figure barely needs to move before it disarms Sam, sweeps him off his feet, and plants it firmly on the floor, lying down on his chest. Sam blinks up with astonished, Dean? And a nice homage to the series premiere. Sam has to know what Dean's doing skulking around in the dark, and Dean makes up a story, believable to this Sam, that owes money to a bookie and was going to pawn some of Mary's silver. After taking one knife and slipping into his pocket, Dean apologizes to Sam for everything that happened between them over the years, asks his brother to tell their mother that he loves her, and then starts to leave. Dean pauses at the front door for one last wistful look around before walking away from his deepest wish forever, leaving Sam alone to gasp and flail about the living room in confusion. Dean is sitting at the wheel, apparently gathering his will, when Sam drops by in the near passenger seat. Not happy about the turn of events, Dean demands that Sam get out of the car. Sam's having none of it, insisting, whatever stupid thing you're about to do, you're not doing it alone, and that's that. With that, Sam raises his eyebrows. They clearly say, so there. I don't understand, Dean protests. Why are you doing this? Sam sighs and primly admits, because you're still my brother. Dean's eyes hid themselves for a little bit and he mutters, bitch. Sam is baffled when he replies, what are you calling me a bitch for? Dean says, you're, supposed to say jerk. What? Sam shoots back. Never mind, Dean mumbles, throwing the car into gear. Sam demands answers. Dean is reluctant to bribe them for obvious reasons. Sam's knack for digging to the bottom of things persists when he discovers the plastic cup full of lamb's blood. He pales, swallows, and pulls his cell phone. Dean removes the phone from Sam's fingers and tosses it out of the window. He tells his brother he's not crazy, that there are bad guys out there, and it's their job to get rid of them. Sam's face is a canvas of doubt and not a little fear. Sam is sleeping and jerks awake when Dean stops the Impala in front of the Jin's lair. He demands to know where they are, and Dean quips that they're not in Kansas anymore. Sam follows his brother through the abandoned warehouse, trekking near the same path that Dean followed earlier. Dean has a silver knife soaked in lamb's blood and is on high alert. Sam is freaked out. Dean demands in a low, careful voice that Sam stay behind him and stay quiet. Sam's reaction is to slide his eyes around as if he expects the boogeyman to jump them at any moment. The boys turn a corner off the corridor in which Dean was initially attacked to find the two dangling skeletons from Dean's closet. As they stare in horror, Dean sees the empty hospital blood bag still hooked up to the neck of one of the skeletons. Next, Dean sees the girl in white that he's been seeing all around town. She moans and asks in a weak voice for her father. Before he can do anything, the Jinn appears. The Jinn uses his electric blue light of wish-granting and sleep on the girl, subduing her, then drinks some of the blood from the bag attached to her jugular. Dean has managed to get Sam behind some stairs. When Sam sees this, he's able to keep his gasp silent. The Jinn turns at the sound and approaches, but Dean gets them out of danger. The Jinn leaves, and Dean approaches the girl, realizing that she had known where she was. She thought she was with her father. Sam is practically begging that they leave, but Dean is trying to get it. He saw a disorienting, dizzying flash of himself, hanging in that very room by his wrists, pale, dying, with his blood slowly being drained from him to provide sustenance to the Jinn. Sam, frantic now, promises Dean that he believes. He'll believe anything if they can just go. But Dean knows he's not going. Lifting the knife, he scares his already terrified brother further by raising it to his own chest, declaring, "Try your dreams, you wake up, right?" Sam bellows, "Wait!" But his plea is ineffectual. Dean's prepared to plunge the knife forward when Mary's voice stops him. Trembling, Dean looks slowly to the side and sees his mother walking toward him. Not the mother from the birthday dinner, but the Mary from his memory. The unlined face, flowing hair, and white nightgown. Why'd you have to keep digging? Sam asked, a bit sorrowful and no longer freaked out. Dean said shoot to him, not in shock, more in disappointing realization. Carmen says behind Sam, why could you have left well enough alone? Sam continues. Jessica appears. Sam gently argues. You were happy. Dean counters that none of it was real. We are slowly buffeted by the gentle waves of argument from Jess. We don't have to worry about Sam anymore. Carmen, we have a family of our own. And his mom, get some rest. Dean knows that if he chooses to stay, to emphasize this happiness, he'll be dead in a matter of days. It'll feel like years to him. Listening to them, wanting the rest, wanting the happiness, but knowing that what he had to do is right. Dean looks straightly at Sam, whispers, I'm sorry, and plunges the knife into his chest. Dean! Sam bellows in the dim gray light of the warehouse where he sees his brother hanging pale and still by his wrists. He launches over to Dean, apparently unsure where to touch that won't cause more harm. Really begging Dean to wake up. Sam's like his brother who bleeds weak. On TM, followed by, there's no place like home. Sam Kent removes the needle from his brother's neck, confessing that he thought he lost it for a sec. Dean replies, you almost did. Sam gets cut down when Dean catches sight of the gin lunging at his brother from behind. Called a warning, Dean begins to haul his stillbound wrists while Sam struggles with the gin, getting knocked around in the process. Sam is pinned to the stairs when the gin's electric blue hand of wish fulfillment and sleep hovering above his forehead when Gin suddenly arches back in pain and shock. Sam darts over to see Dean standing behind the gin, twists the knife in his back to finish the job. With a nonverbal choke to make sure they were each okay, they head back to the girl in white, where Dean discovers that she is still alive and whispers for Sam's help to cut her down. Catching the girl in his trembling arms, Dean whispers her they are going to get her out of there, get her safe. Sam is on the phone with the hospital and turns to Dean to assure him that the girl they rescued from the warehouse is going to be okay. Dean is looking at their magazine and features an ad for El Sol, in which Carmen is smiling up at him. Sam sits in the other bed and gently asks if Dean's okay. Dean recounts briefly what he'd seen, what he wished for, but what he hadn't had. He had a mom alive, but he and Sam had never gone hunting, so they learned how to be brothers. Sam watches Dean closely and says, well, I'm glad we do. I'm glad you took yourself out, Dean. Most we wouldn't have had the strength. They would have just stayed. Dean's convinced of the wisdom of his actions. Yeah, look at me. I gotta tell him, though, man. You had Jessica. Mom was gonna have grandkids. He stands and walks across the room to lean on a dresser and looks back at Sam. Sam argues that it wasn't real. I know, Dean says before confessing, but I want to stay. I want to stay so bad. I mean, ever since Dad, all I can think about is how much this job's cost us. It was so much. We've sacrificed so much. The emotion and heartbreak on Dean's face is too much for Sam, who argues. But people are alive because of you. It's worth it, Dean. It's not fair. And it hurts like hell. But it's worth it. Dean lifts down the lights and rests them on his brother. And the screen fades to black. Aww. So let's take a look at some continuity surrounding this episode. Mary Winchester previously appeared in Home. Jessica Moore previously appeared in Bloody Mary. Dean's hand was not present for the Gin's fantasy world for Dean. Instead, he wears a medal with a silver chain. In this fantasy world, Sam and Dean are not close and do not get along. It may be that Sam never gave the amulet to Dean because when they were children, because their father never became a hunter, would have been present for Christmas and therefore never knew Bobby, who was the one to give the amulet to Sam as a present for his father. The amulet is seen worn by Dean again at the end of the episode in the current reality. And now, finally, let's take a look at some trivia surrounding this episode. Dean's greatest wish to have his mother Mary alive again is fulfilled in the season 11 finale by Amara. Sam's engagement with Jessica is later referenced on in All Hell Breaks Loose Part 1, in which Jaisal tells Sam that he and Jessica would have married and had 2 kids had Jessica not been killed. ZW's official summary for this episode has an error where the words "a genie" is bracketed by 2 sets of question marks, which should be single commas. The title of this episode is a reference to the Led Zeppelin song of the same name. So overall, I think this episode is pretty good and also pretty emotional because, Dean just wanted to have a normal life, but unfortunately that never happened for him, so yeah. So overall, I give What Is and What Should Never Be 5 Impalas out of 5. When I tune in a bit as we took the final episode review of the day, All Hell Breaks Loose, Part 1. So, until then, Carry on, my wayward sons and daughters.